a continent that's on the rise, where history meets innovation, and where the future is being forged. Ever wondered how Africa's economic journey has evolved over the centuries? In this video, we will explore the key chapters of this journey, shedding light on the factors that have built Africa's economic landscape. But why should you be interested in this story? Because it's like unlocking the key to understanding how Africa's future is being shaped. So let's get started. Africa's economic journey, from riches to challenges. Africa's economic story is quite complex and has covered many societies over centuries. But in simple terms, it's faced hurdles like colonialism, slavery, and political instability that have held back its development. As we move through history, think of it as different chapters. Pre-colonial prosperity. It feels like glory days for Africa. Before European colonization, the continent was a bustling hub of trade and culture. Ancient kingdoms like Benin, the Songhai Empire, and Mali thrived. They weren't just self-sufficient, they were active participants in global trade, exporting valuable commodities like gold, ivory, and slaves. Africa's pre-colonial era was a time of flourishing economies and vibrant cultures. The Colonial Shadow. The arrival of European colonists in the 15th century marked a bleak chapter in Africa's economic story. European powers colonized vast areas, introducing systems of exploitation that caused immense suffering. Millions of Africans were enslaved and sent to the Americas to toil on plantations, while the continent's rich resources were ruthlessly looted. This era also brought new crops like maize and cassava, altering African agriculture. The post-colonial challenge. In the wake of 20th century independence movements, Africa grappled with economic, political, and social upheaval. However, in the 2000s, the continent witnessed the dawn of an economic boom, reminiscent of China's ascent in Asia. By 2013, Africa had proudly claimed 7 of the world's fastest-growing economies. Nigeria emerged as the largest economy by nominal GDP, followed closely by South Africa, while Egypt secured the second spot in terms of purchasing power parity. Nations like Equatorial Guinea, Algeria, Libya, Gabon, and mineral-rich Botswana climbed the ranks among Africa's top economies. Yet some countries, rich in natural resources, face setbacks due to political corruption, conflict, and emigration, while Botswana stood out for its consistent, robust growth since gaining independence. Africa's economic narrative is a tale of resilience, transformation, and ongoing potential. A glimpse of the present and future. In recent years, Africa has shown impressive economic growth, with rates of 3.5% in 2018 and 3.7% in 2019, surpassing many regions. As a result of the continent's abundant resources and rising political stability, some regions experienced rapid economic expansion. In 2021, Africa's government income dropped from 22% of what they made, GDP, in 2011 to 17%, causing debt worries in 15 African nations, with 7 in financial trouble per the IMF. In 2020, during COVID-19, African countries spent about 1 to 2% of GDP to help their economies, similar to poorer countries globally, while richer nations spent 16%. Northern and Southern Africa took strong financial steps. Surprisingly, private investment in Africa held steady at $4.3 billion in 2020. By 2023, East Africa faced financial pressures, while North Africa fared better. Female-led businesses showed strength, with 65% of African banks adopting gender-focused strategies. Measuring wealth in Africa. How GNI per capita reveals the rich and the struggling. GNI per capita is a valuable metric that sheds light on the economic well-being of individuals in a country. Imagine it as a tool that helps us understand the financial well-being of people in different African countries, kind of like checking the pulse of a nation's economy. The wealthy players. Some African countries shine brightly on the GNI per capita stage. Take the Seychelles, for example. This island nation is known for its stunning beaches and has a relatively high GNI per capita. Well, they've got a thriving tourism industry that brings in a lot of income. Equatorial Guinea is another one to watch, thanks to its oil wealth, and Mauritius has carved a niche in finance and services. These countries tend to have higher average incomes, better living standards, and more resources to invest in things like roads, schools, and hospitals. The struggling realities. Now let's shift our focus to some of the countries facing economic challenges. Places like Burundi, South Sudan, and Malawi have lower GNI per capita figures. These nations often grapple with issues like political instability or conflict, and many rely heavily on subsistence agriculture. In these places, the average person's income is much lower, and getting access to basic things like healthcare and education can be a real struggle. The middle ground. Between the high flyers and those facing challenges, you'll find a whole bunch of African countries with varying GNI per capita levels. Some are steadily working their way up the economic ladder, while others are dealing with hurdles that slow their progress. GNI per capita is more than just a number. It's a valuable tool for decision makers. It guides investments in areas like infrastructure, education, and economic diversification. It also highlights disparities in wealth, both among countries and within them. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more intriguing insights. Now let's explore Africa's economic landscape further. The titans of Africa's economy, nations that shape the continent's destiny. In the fast-changing world of Africa's economy, some countries are making waves. Their pull is so strong, it's like a magnet for investment, kickstarting positive change across the region. So, let's now take a look at the giants of Africa, starting with the grandeur of the North, where old meets new. Northern Africa is a blend of history and technology. Egypt does not just have pyramids, they also produce natural gas. Algeria and Libya have tons of oil, but politics is a buzzkill. Morocco, on the other hand, is all about solar power and making cars. Tunisia's got tourism and farming, but politics can be a hiccup. Western Africa, the heartbeat of a continent. You can't talk about Western Africa without a shout-out to Nigeria. This country is the heartbeat, the drum roll of the whole region, a mix of oil, they call it black gold, and traditional farming. Ghana is also proudly showing off its gold and cocoa businesses and is also getting into the tech game, which is super exciting. Senegal is a hot pot of fishing, tourism, and phosphates, while countries like Mali and Guinea are riding on specialized exports. The East, a fresh breath of innovation. There are lots of wonders in Eastern Africa. Ethiopia is making manufacturing history and is quickly becoming a destination for fashion names around the world. Kenya is more than safaris. It's the Silicon Savannah, with innovations like M-Pesa, changing how people do business. And Tanzania is a double treat with its mining industry and world-class wildlife tourism. Who wouldn't want to climb Kilimanjaro? Southern Africa, the all-rounder. Let's slide down to the south. Here, South Africa is the show stealer with its mining, robust manufacturing, and financial sector, which means business. Botswana is quietly shining with its diamonds, and it's super stable politically, like the Switzerland of Africa. Namibia and Angola are the new kids on the block with untapped resources. Central Africa, a gold mine waiting to shine. Central Africa is like a Rubik's Cube that nobody's quite figured out yet. Congo is a treasure chest of minerals, but politics keep jamming the lock. Cameroon and Gabon are dabbling in oil, but are peeping into other sectors too. Island jewels. Don't forget the small guys. Madagascar is your go-to for vanilla. Period. Mauritius is not just beaches and palm trees. It's becoming a financial hotbed and dabbling in diverse manufacturing. Unveiling Africa's economic landscape. Layers of growth, challenges, and emerging trends. Africa is currently one of the most talked about regions in the world due to its rapid economic development. What is causing this explosive expansion? Well, it's an intriguing blend of established industries and promising new ones. The engine behind growth. Many different industries are contributing to Africa's economic expansion. Mineral extraction and resources, such as Nigeria's oil and South Africa's diamonds, are vital but vulnerable to market forces. Cocoa production stands out in Côte d'Ivoire and Ghana's agricultural sectors as a major employer. The financial technology industry in particular is booming in places like Kigali, Rwanda, and Cape Town, South Africa. Particularly in Ethiopia, manufacturing is on the upswing. Large-scale solar farm projects like the one in Morocco are gaining popularity. Egypt's historical sites and South Africa's safaris both draw tourists and generate a lot of money. The challenges ahead. Africa is no stranger to challenges on its path to economic growth. One big hurdle is the state of its infrastructure. Think roads, ports, and electrical grids. They're often not up to the mark. Fixing and upgrading these systems is like paving the way for progress. Then there's political instability, with conflicts and uncertainty that can throw a wrench in the economic works, making foreign investors think twice. Corruption is another issue. It's like a leaky bucket, wasting precious resources and slowing things down. And let's not forget debt. Many African countries have hefty loans, often taken for big projects like roads. These are the hurdles on Africa's road to economic success, but they're not insurmountable. What's next? Here are some exciting trends on the horizon for Africa's economy. First up, we've got the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, which is a big plan to create a single market for goods and services across the whole continent. It's like throwing open the doors for trade among African countries, and it could be a game changer. Then there's the digital transformation. It's like Africa's hopping onto the e-commerce train, and more people can work remotely, which means more economic opportunities. And let's not forget the young guns. Over 60% of Africa's population is under 25, and they're going to play a massive role in shaping the economy's future. These trends are like signposts pointing towards a bright economic future for Africa. And that's a wrap on Africa's economic adventure. If you could invest in one African industry right now, which would it be? The tech boom, renewable energy, or maybe something entirely else? Drop your choice in the comments below, and let's spark some interesting discussions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more exciting tips.